Hey everybody, I'm Brooke and I sobered up August 2nd, 2016.
Hi friends, I'm Suzanne and I sobered up December 19th, 1991.
Together we got a lot of recovery and we host Seek Purpose the Podcast.
Seek Purpose is a community that supports recovery, healing, and spiritual growth.
We believe that sharing our stories can greatly impact our communities and collective action can impact the world.
So stop scrolling and start listening, will ya?
Hey, I'm Brooke.
Hi friends, I'm Suzanne.
And this is Seek Purpose, the podcast, and we have an incredible guest today. I am freaking out a little bit.
Oh, come on, you're starstruck. Now he's getting all nervous. Sorry. Now he's getting nervous. Flushed.
We have Mike here. He's our first guest that's actually been on a podcast before, and he actually hosts his own podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself for the listeners of Seek Purpose?
My name is Mike Browne, and I host the podcast Dark Poutine, and we tell true crime and dark history stories from mostly Canada.
I love it. Mm-hmm. It is a really good podcast.
Oh,
and
thanks.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Me and my husband both got into it after we met you at the pod fair, actually. Oh. Mm-hmm. And now I can't stop. It is totally not a coincidence that we met. You came up to me at pod fair. And
well, I saw that it had things to do with recovery, and being a person who's been in recovery for a very long time, I thought, I need to talk to these people. So that's why I came over.
Listening to your podcast and some of the things you share really openly about, you're not afraid to really talk about some hard stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't always been that way, obviously. Those are the things I thought I was going to take to my grave with me. And then when I got into recovery, I found that sharing those things with somebody else was going to be helpful to me being able to stay in recovery. So I just got used to the idea, and then I started to see, wait a minute, that whole idea of that your dark past can be your greatest asset. So now I freely share it. So why not?
Yeah.
We're going to go dark. The dark history of Mike Browne.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we are. We're going to go there.
It's pretty darn dark.
Excellent.
So kind of help us, take us back there, because it has been a long time ago, but there's many that are sitting in it right now, or just coming out of it. And walk us through a day of your addiction.
Oh, gosh. I think I have to go back even before it started.
Yeah.
As a kid, growing up, I'm adopted. So I always felt as though I were an alien waiting for the mothership to come and pick me up and whisk me away to where I actually belonged. Because I ended up with this family that are the straightest people on the planet. They are not alcoholics. They are, let's just say, very square. And here, I look at pictures of when I was a child, and it's these straight up and down people, and then there's it's Norman Rockwell with a splash of Salvador Dali in it, and I'm the Salvador Dali. It's bizarre. I look like I don't fit with them. Today I feel like I fit with them, but there's been a lot of work around that. So not feeling like I fit in even in my own family, wondering why my birth mom gave me up for adoption, all things like that. I pretty much had a resentment right out of the gate. My birth mom was the top of the list, the absolute top of my list of resentments. And, she threw me away like the trash in my brain. So I'm not going to share this episode with her because we're friends today.
Oh, wow.
And she understands. We've had that conversation, but I don't know how she feels about hearing it over and over again, if you know what I mean. So, but yeah, there was that. And I really didn't feel like I belonged in the neighborhood I was in. I didn't feel like I belonged with the friends that I was with. I just did not fit. And some guys in my neighborhood stole some booze from the Michelin Social Club in my hometown in Nova Scotia. And they drank it the night before and decided that they would invite me to see what I would do after I'd had a few drinks. How lucky.
A specimen that you're doing it.
Yeah, I was their test subject.
Yeah, there you go.
And I didn't really feel like these guys liked me. I thought they were my brain was like, well, okay, I'll go along with them. They're probably going to make fun of me. All those kind of things. I just felt so small. But the minute I took a drink, it was like, who are these peons and why are they, why are they not praying to me? Kind of thing. It worked instantly for me.
Yeah.
And I've said before, I feel like alcohol saved my life because I was suicidal when I was 11 years old. I was thinking about taking my own life when I was 11. And finding alcohol gave me something to get me through for a certain amount of time. So I'm glad that I found it. I really am. I'm grateful that I had a period in my life where I had that to lean on. It's strange how you hate it when you first get into recovery, but at the same time you start to realize, wow, had I not found that, what would have happened to me? It's interesting, right?
Oh, it so is. And this has been every year around my celebration of my birthday of sobriety, I always have a reflection back from where I came from. And everything happened for a perfect reason. Yeah. And when you're in it, you never see it. No. You never know why. No. But when you have reflection, absolutely, it has been, I wouldn't change a second of the hurts from my past. Nope. Not a second.
I would, if I could, there are some amends that I have made that haven't gone so well, and people don't want me in their lives, which I understand because I hurt them. So there are those things that I wish I could have done better. I would like to be able to change some of those things, but I can't. I can't regret it, but I also can't shut the door on it, right? So.
I've learned that too in recovery. Like we can say yet when we come in. Oh, I haven't done that yet. I haven't tried that drug. Oh, I haven't drank like that. I didn't do it. We can do it yet, but in recovery, we can also do that as well. It's a yet. It hasn't happened yet.
Totally.
You don't know what happens.
So I went from being the kid that all the mums used to point to say, oh, you should be more like him, to the one that people were saying, do not hang out with that young man because he's trouble. It was pretty much overnight that happened. I was still involved in Boy Scouts. I was still going to church youth groups and all that kind of stuff, but all my life started to take on this dark tone, behind the scenes kind of thing. I remember there was a meeting, a 12-step meeting at the church where I was going to Boy Scouts in the basement, and we were meeting upstairs in the gym, and I used to cross paths with the 12-step folks on the stairs, and I would think, man, they're a lot cooler to talk to than these nerds I got to hang around with the Boy Scouts. But so you get kind of the sense of where I was heading, and the church youth group brought in a member of a 12-step program to have a conversation with us, because here we are drinking out behind the church before coming into the church youth group. And so the leaders there were like, well, let's bring in a member of a 12-step group and let her have a conversation. And so from the time I was 15 until I quit drinking when I was 23, I knew. I heard my story that very first time that somebody shared it with me, and it twigged.
Did she screw up your drinking?
Yeah, actually. But like I say, I carried on for 8 years after that. So it was all to prove that I wasn't what I thought I was. And that whole 8 years was to prove that I wasn't a drunk, So I did other things. Hey, look, I'm not a drunk. Maybe I'm a drug addict. I started having migraines, and the doctor gave me this amazing thing called codeine, and I was off on the codeine train for a long, long time. So when I wasn't drinking all the time because I had codeine to
supplement.
Exactly. Or somebody would I remember a lady that I was boarding with when I was going to college. She brought me back a bottle of rum from Mexico, and it looked disgusting. But I told myself, if I can keep that sealed in my room, I am not an alcoholic. So I kept it there for like a year. And I don't have a problem. I'm pie-eyed almost every other day. But there is that bottle there that I haven't touched. It's like that weird idea that, you know, I can, if I'm doing this thing, then this stuff doesn't really matter.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I tried to overcompensate in every other area of my life to
Oh.
prove that I was fine. Like, I still have a car, I still have a job, I'm like working with kids, like work in the wedding industry. Like,
I envy those people. Like, I envy people like you who were able
Functioning.
to get life going. Never could. I just was spinning my wheels right from the beginning. I've been to so many universities and schools and stuff just to try again.
yeah.
Through so many relationships, all those kind of things, and it just never took. It was always, I'm too busy partying to do anything. The typical day was more like, okay, I'm just gonna go and do my thing. And I didn't see anything else around me. I didn't see my parents worrying. I didn't see my sister worrying. I didn't see my grandmother crying herself to sleep. I didn't see any of those things. All I saw was, I need to get wrecked, and I need to get wrecked right now. That's all. I couldn't see past my own nose.
That's what's going to be my next question about, you know, who was the first person that knew that you had a problem, you or your family?
I think it was me. I think it really was me who knew that I had a problem, but it started to leak out into my family, as it tends to do. Even though I was being dishonest with myself and telling myself, I'm overreacting, I don't need to do anything about this. When I was about 19, I ended up just cracking on Christmas Eve and just laying in a puddle on the floor and just, you know, it's all about me after all. Let's spoil the surf and turf with Michael crying on the floor. But yeah, so that's when I started my journey into reaching out for help. And went to see a psychologist who I lied to, and then I went to see a psychiatrist who I lied to, and then another psychiatrist who I lied to.
We must have been passing in the hall.
Probably. Oh, probably.
I actually, someone gave me these 20 questions, how do you tell if you have a problem or not? And of course I answered, have you ever been to psychiatric or institutions? I'm like, no. But meanwhile, I would go see my psychiatrist with outpatient care.
Yeah.
You know.
I couldn't answer no to that one, even though I didn't see myself as institutionalized, even though I was behind the doors that locked on the other side for a period of time when I was like 21. I ended up doing, so the doctor is trying to cure me medically with chemicals. So I end up doing all the other chemicals that I had been doing for a very long time, plus the psychiatric chemicals. So I ended up in a really bad spot and had a psychotic break. So I was out to lunch. I didn't know where I was, who I was, what I was going to do. I ended up standing at the foot of my parents' bed one day, and 6 o'clock in the morning, they hadn't seen me in like 3 weeks. And here I am, their creepy son in the dark in a November morning, cold November morning, saying, I'm going to kill myself for somebody else.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so they took me to the hospital, and the doctor at the hospital said, would you like to stay with us? And I said, okay. And he later told me that they were going to keep me whether I said yes or no. And it was just easier that I said yes. And then the next 5 days I don't remember them at all.
Wow.
And my dad came in, and my dad is a veterinarian. He has a really great sense of humor, but it's dry. So you're never sure whether it's a joke or not. And it usually is. But he spoke in medical terms, like you didn't have a bruise, you had a contusion, you didn't have a cut, you had a laceration. And he came into my room in this ward where the person who I was sharing my room with was a man who had tried to kill his wife with a frying pan while he was in a psychotic episode. So it was quite a nice place. But my mom and my sister and my dad came to visit. And Mom and Rachel are just off doing their thing, getting me a can of Coke and a pack of smokes kind of thing. And my dad sits me down and he says, we figured out what's wrong with you. And I'm like, oh, finally. Somebody knows. And he says, you have what's called ocular rectitis.
What?
Yeah. And I said, what the heck is ocular rectitis? And he says, well, that's where the nerves between your eyeballs and your rear end get screwed up and you get a crappy outlook on life.
Oh my gosh.
That is brilliant.
I had 2 words from my father, and one of them was off. And but at the same time, like, I look back now, he was trying to help. He was trying to be helpful in a really dark place, and his heart was really in the right place. And it also kind of gave me a name to call what I get like when I'm not practicing my program, or without a drink. I have a severe case of ocular rectitis.
I love that.
That is really good.
Sounds
It might
like
have
a
to be a
dinosaur.
shirt.
Ocular rectitis, yeah. Trademark. Copyright.
Sounds like some sort of dinosaur.
Yeah. So I did get to some really dark places. I became violent. I was stealing. I wasn't the person that these wonderful people were bringing me up to be. And I knew it. And I was fighting with inside myself, like I think I read it in an M.F. Fox book. The name Israel means one who wrestles with God. And so there I was wrestling with the truth kind of thing inside myself. And it all came to a head when I was 23. Another relationship falling apart, friends being disgusted with me. I rarely ever paid for anything. It usually either stuck to me or I would just bum it, and I was just disgusted with myself, and everybody else seemed disgusted with me too. So my girlfriend at the time, her friend and her mom and her friend's mom sat me down and said, we think you have a drinking problem and we need you to get help. And Adrienne, my girlfriend at the time, says, I'm breaking up with you regardless of whether you get help, but I would really love it if you got some help.
Wow.
And I was like, ugh, what the heck is all this? Like, who are these people? What are they doing in my face? And about 2 weeks later, here I was laying in bed, and Adrienne's out with some other guy. We're in the process of, we were living together, so we're breaking up. She's out with some other dude. I'm in bed drunk. My mind is spinning a million miles an hour. And I'm thinking, man, I just want to get some sleep. I just wanted to get some sleep. And I'm not Christian today. I know I mentioned going to church youth groups and all that kind of stuff. I said for the very first time in years and years and years, I said what I remember to be the Lord's Prayer. Just out loud, laying in this bed with my brain spinning a million miles an hour. And everything just kind of got quiet. And I was like, whoa, what the heck? And I fell asleep. Now, today, I still don't believe in all that stuff. But something, I think it was the honesty of that moment, just a call to the universe, and the universe answered. I fell asleep, and it was as though for the next 2 weeks after that, I were sitting on my own shoulder, watching myself do all the things that I had been doing. And I started to see it from a different perspective. Like, holy crap, what am I doing? And, after the night of my last drink, I ran to my buddy Al's place because my other friend Mike, who's since passed away due to alcoholism, he says there's only a few beer left. So if you want one, you got to get here. And I literally ran the kilometer to my buddy Al's place and had the beer there. And it's like a big relief, that over the gums, watch out stomach, here it comes. And just like, oh, the relief of that moment. And I realized in that moment, this is a problem. This is what the problem is. And we went out to a lounge in our hometown called Tomorrow's Lounge. And yeah. Anyway, so we went to Tomorrow's Lounge. It was the place we went every night when we were drinking. And at about 9:30, I had an Alexander Keys to my mouth, and it was half finished. And I put it down after my brain said, some people say I heard a voice. I had a thought that said, that just said, you can't do this anymore. This is the end. And so I put it down, and I went home to my parents' place, woke up the next morning, and I felt like my skin was coming off. Like I had bumblebees in my head, and I can't describe it, like worms in my chest. I was just like in a really bad space. What I realize now, that's what's called detox. And I hadn't done it for quite some time because I always had something, either a pill or a drink in my system. And here I am coming apart. I put myself on the bus. I rode back into Halifax to the apartment that I was sharing with that same girl. And as soon as I walked through the door, she wasn't there, thankfully, to see this. I just collapsed on the floor and just bawled, cried. I didn't know what was wrong. Like,
You were
what?
surrendering.
Exactly. And I picked up the phone and I reached out for help. I called the helpline for people in emotional distress. And this girl answered, and she was so nice. I asked her on a date.
That's good.
I totally did. And I was surprised when she said no, because she seemed so nice.
What?
Wow,
She says no.
Why are you saying no? I put myself out there.
You know who I am.
I was nobody, and I still am. But, yeah, so she got it out of me that I had a psychiatrist, and I thought, okay, well, I'm crazy. I'm definitely crazy, so I need to call this guy. And I called him, and his name was Dr. Rosenberg in Halifax, and he picks up the phone, and he says, I need to ask you a question. And I said, what? He said, did you drink last night? And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? I'm insane. Like, I'm going crazy here. And he says, I've told you this before. I don't remember him ever telling me this before, but I've told you, probably because I wasn't ready to listen. I've told you this before. You are somebody who I think cannot take a single drink in safety. And I was like, what? What does drinking have to do with me being crazy? Because the two things weren't exclusive of one another in my mind at the time. And he says, I can't help you until you stop drinking, and I think the only way for you to stop drinking is to go to a 12-step meeting. So he gave me a phone number of the 12-step folks in Halifax, and I picked up the phone and I called. And it seemed like an eternity before somebody called me back, but they did. And they told me, well, we'll come pick you up and we'll take you to this young people's meeting right around the block from your apartment. And I said, okay, all right, whatever. You know, I'm willing to do anything at this point. I just was like so willing. And these guys show up in this beat up little Honda Accord, and the one guy is just this grizzled looking Cape Bretoner, and the other fella in the passenger seat who said, "Are you Mike?" Rolls down the window, says, "Are you Mike?" He looked like a Picasso painting because he had been through a windshield when he was drinking and driving. So his face was kind of all over the place. And I'm thinking, what am I getting myself into? So I get into the back of this car. They drive right past the place where I thought we were going and start heading outside the city. And from the back, I'm just like, where are we going? And the Cape Bretoner says, don't worry, we're going to a meeting. We're just going to take you where people are going to love you. And I was just like, okay, whatever. So I got there, and you could smoke at the time. So all these hands are coming out of the smoke at me, you know, asking me if I'm new. And I'm thinking, how do they know? Like, how the heck do these people know that I'm new? They must have called ahead. They had to have called ahead. But a guy with 60 days of sobriety gave me my first book, and I didn't realize that was significant at the time. But another fella said, I like to say a little prayer for every newcomer. And that stuck in my brain. For some reason, it stuck, and I haven't had a drink since.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of interesting life that takes place over 27 years, as I'm sure you're aware.
Yes.
But but from that moment on, I haven't found it necessary to pick up a drink.
That's just amazing. You know, I'm so excited because when you came in and we were kind of talking before we started recording, and I was like, when did you sober up? I don't know, when did you sober up? And we're like brothers and sisters. We're in the 90s. We're like 90. And it's exciting because, you know, it was an era back now, you know, it's still the same story today as it was back then. But back then, of course, everybody was, it's always tougher. You had to go to school and walk 1,000 miles in the snow.
Oh my gosh.
You know, like those types of stories. Well, you'll remember when we had to pick up the phone, we literally had to pick up the phone and go to a pay phone. Yeah. And I was so pissed off and resentful when they got rid of those damn pay phone booths, because that's where I used to scream with my sponsor. Right? Nobody could hear. And when they took them away, it was like, what do you mean they're taking away phone booths?
Yeah, now I hear about people FaceTiming their sponsor and stuff like that. I'm like, if one of my sponsees FaceTime me, I'd be like, what is wrong with you?
Right?
Get over here. We're going to have a conversation face to face.
Totally.
But just it's a different time, that's for sure.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. So the 90s was a good year. We've aged well.
I was not able to drink back then. I think I was like 9.
Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, just be quiet. Anyway.
Speaking about 9, actually, you talked about at 11 years old being suicidal. And I know you have a podcast episode where you talk more in depth about what happened back then. But I was wondering if you wanted to share a bit about that experience and the aftermath of that experience. Because we have a lot of listeners with mental health struggles that suffer with PTSD and different struggles. And I think that would be helpful.
Okay. Yeah. So when the week before my 12th birthday, I was walking home from a few friends of mine and I were playing floor hockey at the Michelin Social Club, where years later someone would steal the booze. But
how ironic, hey?
Yeah, it's like 10 o'clock at night, you know, summer night, and the big exhibition, it's kind of like the P&E in my little hometown, is going on, so I could hear the rides and the people, you know, having a good time and the music and all that kind of stuff. And it was a straight shot down through the town from the Michelin Social Club to my home. So like 2 or 3 kilometers I had to walk. So I dropped different friends off along the way. And the last 1.5 kilometers I have to walk by myself, which isn't a big deal. Or it wasn't back then. You know, in 1980. Oh my God, 81.
I mean, Clifford Olson was around my neck of the woods.
Well, we'll get into that.
Okay.
We'll get into that. So I'm walking. I walk past my grandmother's house, and then there's a set of lights, and then it's 3/4 of a kilometer to my parents' house. So as I'm walking across the street, I see a man coming down the hill from where the exhibition grounds are, where all the noise and hoopla is going on. And I just take note that there's somebody up there. And so, being a little bit of a scaredy cat, I started to walk a little faster. And then I noticed the man had turned behind me and was walking behind me. And he's quite a ways away at this point. So I walk faster, and at the same time, this person is walking faster as well. And I didn't really know if something bad was going on, but I had a bad feeling. I just had a bad feeling almost instantly when I realized that he was trying to match my pace. And it is like he was like 100 meters away or something like this, but I just felt something's not right. And before you know it, like I just keep sort of looking over my shoulder. He's almost directly behind me. Oh my God. And so my idea is to bend down, tie my shoe on the curb out in the light underneath a street light, so I can let this guy go past me, so I can have him in my sights rather than me in his. And I don't know why I thought to do that, but I thought it's that whole predatory animal instinct. It's better to have, if you're prey, it's better to be behind than you know. So he walked past, and as he's walking past, I felt him looking at me. I literally felt it happening. And I knew something is not right. So I let him go for quite a while, for about 20 yards or so. And I just stood up and I started walking again. Now we're about 200 meters from my house. And so there's a street and then a bit of a hill, a street that goes to the right, a little bit of a hill, then my best friend Peter's house, his grandparents' house, and then my house. So I'm close to home. But this person turns down this street, which is a dead end, and I knew every single person who lived on that street, and he did not live there. So I knew something was up. It gets a little, but anyway.
Yeah, my heart's just like.
I know.
You're a very good storyteller. That's why I love your podcast.
Well,
you just
thanks.
get so entrenched with the story. Yes.
So this guy walks about 2 houses in, and he turns and starts to come back. And the first thing he says to me is, "Do you have the time?" And I'm like, I stop and I say, "I don't know, like 10 o'clock, 10:30, I'm not really sure." And he says, "It's a little late for somebody to be, who's as young as you to be out this late." Like, okay, whatever, who are you? But by the time he gets that out of his mouth, he is right in front of me and just grabs my arm. And he starts, there's woods down this hill before the next house. And he starts to pull me down the hill toward the forest kind of thing. And I'm just shocked. And he says, "Don't scream or I'll break your arm." So he's got my arm up behind my back and pushing me down toward the woods. And I for some reason I said, "So what are you going to do?" And he told me what he planned to do to me. And he said words that I had never heard said to me in my entire life. And I don't know if I want to repeat them because it's very kind of, it's disgusting. It's something that a child should not hear from an adult. And so he said that he was going to do that to me. And my brain, I went instantly into fight and flight. Instantly. And I just, to heck with him, I don't care if he's going to break my arm, I'm getting away. So I started screaming, and I ran toward the first house on this street. And he took off the other way, back toward the way he'd come. And I just was pounding both fists on the door to get into this place. And finally the door opens, these bleary-eyed people who had been in bed, very nice folks. They knew me. They knew that something was really wrong and just, "Come on in. We'll call your dad and we'll call the police." And the cops got there before Dad. And I could tell, they started asking me all these questions. And it's very blurry that whole time afterward. But when Dad got there, he was angry that, "What are you doing talking to my son?" Like he didn't understand what was going on at first. Like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't I here to have this conversation? And so they piled me and my dad into the back of this cop car, asked me, what this person looked like. And we drove around town just looking for the guy, and there's no sign of him. Obviously, he just scampered under a rock or something like that, But he was gone. So, but that night, I remember the police officer saying, "It could have been worse. It just could have been worse." And so immediately, I'm like, well, why, if it could have been worse, why am I so upset? And so I started beating up on myself, like, I shouldn't be this upset about something that could have been much worse. That man did have the plan to make it much worse. He told me that plan. So that was the beginning of the minimizing of this hurt that I had for years and years. So, yeah.
Wow. So, listening to your podcast and what you're doing now in your life. Seek Purpose is really about finding your journey and your purpose, and you're broken, right? And there's a few things with this situation, not situation, but this real pivotal moment of your childhood. Who would have thought that it would have played such an instrumental part of your future today?
Yeah.
And, and also just your point that you're even at the end of your parents' bed in that psychotic mode. And, you have, and now understanding that part of your story, I can understand the passion that you have of these crime stories. And
yeah, I mean, I really have a lot of feeling for victims of crime. Like I said, I was a violent guy. I wasn't always like a peach. I have hurt some people in my life, and so I kind of understand it from both perspectives in a way. I pray that I never have to go back to the place in my life where I feel that angry with and out of control that I ever lash out at anybody again. It's that's something I find hard to live with at times. It's like I say, it's nothing I regret, but I can't shut the door on it. I can't ignore the fact that that's where I've taken myself and more than one human being.
I'm obsessed with crime dramas, like on TV. Like I have Dateline 2020. I'll watch court cases live. I'm really fascinated with.
I've met Keith Morrison. He's awesome.
Have you?
Oh yeah. Been to Crime Con. You guys should go. You'd love it.
I probably love it, but my husband had to take a video saying, "This is my testimony on this day. My wife is watching these shows just in case something happens to me." Right? And it was a joke, but I actually, because as a child going through much situations in my past, from my alcoholic stepmother, I literally plotted out her demise, her death.
Sure.
And I laugh about it in my story today, but it was serious. It was so serious that I think that's why I'm so fixated on those stories now, because I'm grateful, number one, I didn't harm her.
Yeah.
And two, I definitely would have been caught. But I just love when they get caught, and but also being a victim too, because I too suffered from a traumatic experience from an RCP officer actually, and some pretty horrific things that were said to me. That no human should ever hear.
Yeah.
And anyways, and again, for the same purpose, and I'm fixated on those stories and the joys of how the truth can come out. And sometimes it doesn't, that's the other side of it too, right?
Well, I think that's why true crime is such a popular genre, is because people do understand it from both perspectives. And it's the ones who absolutely deny any kind of darkness of their own that I really am worried about. I don't want those people around me. Just no, I would never have a thought like that. It's like, get away from me.
do.
Yeah, exactly. Norman Bates.
Yeah, right.
So I just want to share with it was episode 10 that you share your story on. If anyone's listening and wants to hear more about that experience, I encourage you to listen to it. It's a really powerful episode. But just listening to it for myself, I also had an experience happen in high school. And I had that exact same thing. The man who did, I was at a party and I woke up to something happening and I freaked out, and it was someone I'd known a long time, and my head was just in a mess. Like, I don't know if this is like what just happened, and if it happened to me, or if I was just drunk and stupid, or like, I was minimizing it and doing all those things and trying to get home, but I was sleeping over at someone's house and didn't know how to get home. And he ended up going to tell the liaison officer at our school what he did. And like what actually happened to me wasn't as bad as what happened afterwards when people started knowing about it. And then the liaison took me in and like questioned me, and he's asking me like, well, like, were you drinking? Did you want things to happen? And he's asking if I was a virgin. He was asking if
oh, what a nightmare.
And I'm like sitting there like, oh my gosh. And he's saying, I'm going to have to go to court and we need to talk to your parents and all these things. And I'm like, it was the worst experience. And from that moment on, like, I didn't trust authority figures. I didn't care about my body anymore or what people did. Like, it's just so crazy how, like, the trauma itself wasn't as bad as, you know, what happens afterwards and how people deal with it and how shameful it is and you don't want to talk about it. And I lost all my friends and everyone was still friends with him. And it was just like...
What a weird situation.
It was awful, yeah. But
I still have body image issues. Or, you know, I still carry some of that kind of stuff. I'm still struggling with certain things. Some things I am well on my way in recovery with. But other things are still a huge struggle for me. Like I was a very fit young man. Like I look back at my pictures when I was in high school, and I was a runner, and you know, playing basketball, soccer, like all those kind of things. And now, pretty much my whole exercise is getting that next donut into my mouth. And
Tim Hortons appreciates that.
Yeah, especially because I talk about double-doubles on my show.
you do, yeah.
They should be sponsoring Dark Poutine. Do you hear that, Tim Hortons?
Yes.
Come on now.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's still stuff that I guess little rocks that I still need to turn over and, you know, wash whatever is underneath there away. But I guess that's the journey of recovery, right? It's this never-ending thing.
It is a never-ending thing. You know, people who come in think that you're going to get to this finish line that, you know, they look at, you know, a happy face. They're like, I should be happy, but they beat themselves up so bad because it's like, I thought I dealt with this the first time I went around my program and my step work. Why is this coming up again? Yeah. And there's just different healings. And I, too, have learned that from my own recovery and healing through, you know, trauma that's happened to me in the past. And, you know, I look at all of these women that step forward, the Me Too movement. And I was like, you know, the situation that happened with me with the RCMP, I never spoke of it outside of, you know, in closed rooms with counselors and my family were aware. But, you know, I give huge courage, like these women that come out and are able to say that. And so many people, I've sat there and listened to other people sit there and go, oh, come on. Yeah. You know, like, why wouldn't they have said something then? You know, and that I just really, I don't know the feelings that come up for that, but it angers me. It really does, because I am one of those person that didn't speak up at the time it happened because of the same reasons that we talked about.
Even though I reported the night that it did happen, I saw that man around town, and I never could bring myself to call the police. I just could never do it. And I even learned his name because the girl who I was with when I first got sober, she'd been in a bad situation with her uncle from the time she was 2 until she was 16. And we were at her grandmother's house one day, and she's sharing me pictures in her family albums, and, oh, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. And she points and she says, that's him. That's my uncle. And standing next to him is the man who did it to me. And I said, what's that guy's name? And she said, why? And I explained the situation to her, and she said, his name is this. And I said, why are they together? And she said, because they're alike.
Wow.
So.
Wow, that's crazy. Actually, the situation that happened to me, and kind of similar to that, I worked at a grocery store, and my manager that trained me when I first started that job, I just adored him, and I ran into him again at this new store that I got transferred to. He was there, and he was in the coffee room, and he was talking about this experience with his sister's daughter, and how this boyfriend of hers was a real creep, and he was like having problems with him, and, you know, because he figured maybe he was abusing this little girl. And then he said, and plus he's a freaking cop. And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm frozen.
Yeah. What's his name?
I actually asked what the little girl's name was, because some of what he had shared with me that night was about the little girl, and I'll never forget the little girl's name.
Oh my gosh.
And he said the name, and I got up, I went running to the bathroom, just like the movies, throwing up. Like, I had put that and shoved that down for so far. Same type of story, and got his name, his full name. Like, I knew his name. I didn't know his last name at the time, and I actually was the only other person I told.
Yeah.
And I actually told him, and he said, "Don't you worry, I told him what happened and what he did to me, and he was the only person that I told outside of that. I was still so fearful because of him being I mean, what do you do? Go to the cops? I mean, come on, like, his father was way up there. I mean, as if I was ever going to go anywhere. But it's terrifying, you know, and that was years later after it happened, and I was in recovery at the time. And let me tell you, that had a little wave of maybe I might just pick up, because the pain and the trauma and the stress that came from that was pretty great.
I was around 20 years sober when I finally went to the RCMP with this guy's name.
Wow.
I just couldn't hold it in anymore. So, you know, it was crazy. But I show up, you know, to the Burnaby RCMP, and I say, I have something I'd love to talk to you guys about. And they took me very seriously. Wow. Sat me down, and I got interviewed in a room, and they contacted the police in my hometown. The records they couldn't find, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But when they told him, they talked about the person's name, yes, he's well known to us for this kind of stuff.
Whoa.
Right? So they had me do a photo lineup. But they gave me a picture of what he looks like today rather than what he looked like 30 years ago. And I couldn't pick him out of the lineup because it's like, I now know, now I have the picture burned into my brain, because after thinking about it, which one was he? It was like, oh, it was that one. So I now know. I know what he looks like today, but it didn't go any further. And I think a big part of the reason I didn't actually report earlier is because I didn't think that I was worthy of it somehow. I don't really want to go through it, and it's all going to cause a big hassle, and really I kind of deserve to be in the pain that I'm in. You know?
Oh, I totally get it. I knew this individual a week before, and I was in my drinking before the incident happened. And the incident happened when I was stone cold sober. But I was a party girl, and it was one of those nights that you just don't want to remember. And I just, under no circumstances, wanted that to be brought up and used against me. And of course, the shame and the guilt, and I didn't want it to go there, because that's what they did back in those days. It's like, oh, like what you were just going through. And and I thought I did file with his partner, who did know what happened, and they did a private seal. They told me took pictures and everything, and of what happened with me, because it was pretty violent. And his partner actually took all of the information. I signed everything, and he said, because I was worried that it would happen to somebody else, and he said those records would be sealed. If anything ever happened, you'd be called upon. But I said, I do not want, unless they need me, I'm not going to step forward. But many years later, I found out that never got filed.
Of course not.
No. Yeah. So, but anyways, I mean, it's just interesting how things happen. And from that experience, you know, it did cause me great pains, but it also brought great growth, you know, and, you know, an understanding, and, you know, being able to be a survivor. It's been helpful for sure.
I just someone reached out to me this week who was a detective in the Edmonton Police Service, and she wants me to come over Skype and converse with her about my story and talk to other police officers who are learning about sexual assault in men.
Wow.
So I can share my experience with some police officers who are learning.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, is that ever cool? Like, of course I'm going to do that. That's really neat.
Wow.
Like, all of the crap gets used. Like every single last bit of it. I found that I'm almost coming up on 4 years in my recovery journey, but already it's like I see where everything that I went through is getting used for the good of something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. It's mind-blowing how you think, what good is this ever going to do anybody? What's happened to me? And well, guess what? I've met my birth mom. I mean, you know, I crossed her off that list, and I prayed for her for years and years and years. And then finally the books opened in Nova Scotia, and I was able to put my name in, and almost instantly it came back. She was looking for me. And today I have 2 families when I go back home. It's just mind-blowing. Like, and I definitely belong there.
So you see that you're definitely part of the family.
My one brother is very straight and square, and my other brother is a witch and polyamorous and the whole deal. And so I'm sort of the guy right in the middle of everything, which is kind of weird, because I'm used to being the black sheep. But no, my brother Phil can be the oddball.
So you came to a place of forgiveness for your mom then? Because you said she was the top of your list, right?
Yep.
What was that like?
It came to a point where I just did not think about it anymore. I just gave it away. I just gave it to the universe. Okay, this is, if we're ever meant to meet, if we're ever meant to get together and have a conversation, let it be for the good of everybody. And it was years, and I wasn't thinking about it, and then it just started to, like, all of a sudden, it's time to deal with it. And boom, it happened. Pretty neat.
That is pretty neat. I bet she's pretty excited to have you back in her life.
Oh, she's a sweetheart, too. She really is. I thought, oh, my God, my birth mom's going to be a crazy cat lady who lives in a trailer park. Guess what? She's a crazy cat lady who lives in a trailer park, but she's the most awesome crazy cat lady. Like, not really crazy at all. She's just a cat lady in a trailer park. But.
What's so incredible at recovery, and what I love about the recovery journey and meeting all the people, the colorful people that we are, hey? And the stories we come with, and we look at people as human and not as... I think it's made it easier for me to go back to my family and to others that have hurt me and be able to come to a place of forgiveness so much easier, because I've some of the most incredible friends I have in recovery. When you really sit down and talk to them and hear their stories, they're my mom, my dad, my sisters, my brothers, my the cop that hurt another girl. Like they are incredible miracles, and it's made it a lot easier for me to kind of take a look at things. Not from a victim standpoint, but as as everybody has a story. Everybody has hurts. Everybody has a story, and everybody has hurts.
Yeah, it's that whole, I was looking outward and making all these judgments in the world before, and now it's like, no, the only person I need to concern myself is me and what I'm doing. And whatever anybody, I still get hurt. I still feel hurt. Somebody leaves me a crappy iTunes review. I still feel hurt, but because I'm human. But at the same time, I'm not going to be thinking about that person for 20 years and drinking at them.
Mom, what are you doing?
I was just about to tell these people how they could get a freebie from our website.
What's a freebie?
It's this awesome little thing you get into your inbox when you give us your email at www.seekpurposenow.com.
www.seekpurposenow.com.
That's right. So all you have to do is head over to www.seekpurposenow.com, go to the freebies section, type in your email, and you will get a little freebie sent right into your inbox. Do it right now. Don't wait. This is good stuff.
Don't wait.
Spirituality is a weird thing. Like, everybody's experience is really different with it. And I'm grateful for that. That whole idea that I could have my own conception of a power greater than myself. Oh, thank goodness. I don't have to believe in all that stuff that, I was told that I had to believe, or I was going to get zapped into ashes. I don't have to believe any of that. I just have to believe that, so for me, it's just the universe has a better idea of things than I do. And I try to keep it that simple, because all the rest of it's really navel gazing anyway. It's pointless.
Yeah. We just had a guest on that talked about nature and just how it's so balanced naturally, and like there's got to be intelligence in there, like it doesn't just happen.
Exactly. Except platypus. Look at a platypus. The heck is that? How can that be a thing?
I love like the spirituality that you learn in recovery, and I've learned that is what takes care of me today. That is what I can rely on, because it's the only thing that's been there consistently that hasn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt me, and it kind of takes the pressure off everybody else around me. Because I don't have to look at you to bring something to me, which has helped my relationships, with with everybody around me, because I don't need anything from you. So if we get bad reviews, I might come after you. But no, I don't need your good. Just joking.
Well, I'll come after
Just joking. We'll just be like, whatever.
I love bad reviews. I do, because it means like people are watching and like give a shit enough to like give you a review, right? I had a YouTube video that went kind of viral-ish, and there's some like, oh man, just the worst reviews, and I would sit there with popcorn and read them and laugh, and but I can't take myself too seriously.
Rule 62.
That's right, exactly. We have a shirt that says that, actually.
Yes, we do. Oh man, it has been amazing. So I want to know, from your recovery, when did all of a sudden Dark Poutine come?
Oh my gosh.
Birth. How did that birth?
So I really wanted to do something creative. I've always been interested in things creative my whole life. I love to read, but I really was interested in something creative. So I had done some acting and some weird things in school, so I thought, I'm going to take acting when I got sober. And so I went to Vancouver Film School, and I took acting at film school. I got myself a great agent through the help of somebody who I knew who was already a successful actor, and started going out for things, and I couldn't book a thing. I couldn't book anything, and it was just like, what the heck is going on? I was so bloody desperate to book something. It was just like, like I was terrible. And just like, I can imagine the, casting directors, they want something fun and open, and here's this tight, crazy person like going, please love me. And it just didn't work. It didn't work. So I gave up on that. And then I started to think, well, okay, maybe I need to be behind the scenes. So I started writing, taking producing courses, things like that. I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to be a director. Let's get involved in the film business. So I end up in the film business. I'm supporting myself with graphic design at the time, so something a little creative. But when I got into the film business, I'm thinking I'm going to be way up here, but I'm cleaning up spaghetti garbage in the tent, in the lunch tent.
Killing vampires. I kind of saw that little video.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, that was so
that
cute.
Was fun.
That was so cute.
That was really fun.
I was telling Brooke, and she's like, really, where is it?
It's on my web. It's on darkpoutine.com/appearances, I think.
I think so. Yeah. It's cute.
Yeah. So, Scott and I did that. But yeah, so I've done a lot of film. I've worked with a lot of really big stars. I've met Christopher Walken, John Rhys Davies, Nicolas Cage, people like that. But they were always the ones who were on the other side of things. I was way down below the line. So I thought, well, I'm just not making it. So I quit again. And I went into working at a call center, hat in hand. Oh, I need a job. So I ended up working at a call center for a certain telecom here locally. So I worked for them, and all the time, it's nagging at me, I want to do something creative. I start getting promoted there and pushing my creative stuff aside. I'm getting promoted again and again and again, and I'm going up through the ranks in this big corporation thinking, okay, this is what I got to do. But all the time, I have this nagging sense that I really want to do something. I get into photography again. I start shooting shows. I'm going, shooting rock shows and all that kind of stuff. And that's fun, but it made me no money. And then I heard Joe Rogan, and I heard Serial, and I heard Mark Maron, people like that. And I thought, what the heck is this? I wanted to be in radio when I was a little kid. I went to the local radio station, CKPW, and the manager took me around, and he told me, where are you going to start in radio, kid? You're going to be cleaning up garbage. And I thought, I am not going to do that. So radio was out the window, but all the time, I still wanted to do something like that. I wanted to be the on-air guy. So when I heard podcasts, I started to think, man, what does it take to do a podcast? And then I started to do some research, and I realized it doesn't take a heck of a lot. So I put together my own little studio, bought a whole bunch of stuff with my corporate money that I had, and it sat in the room for about a year. Just
Really?
mocking me, saying, you piece of crap, you can't do anything, you're a loser, you bought me, and I'm just sitting here all alone. And I realized why I couldn't start is because I was afraid of the technical, number one, the audio technical, and I was afraid to do it alone. And while I was working at this other telecom, I had met my buddy Scott. We live in the same complex. People used to listen to us hold court at work, and we would just banter for hours, and people would laugh. And I thought, why don't I just ask him to do this with me? Just come sit in the seat. I will tell you a story. All you have to do is spend an hour with me every week. At first, he was doing the technical part of it, the audio stuff, because he had a background in audio. But yeah, that's all he does. He has to come sit in front of me. And
What a cool gig.
yeah, I do all the rest.
Oh, man.
But yeah, that was the best decision because it's exactly what I needed and exactly what the show needed to happen.
You guys seem like you're like really friends now, though. Hey.
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
We've been friends, probably 8 years before we started.
Okay, that makes sense then.
But yeah, so we were close to begin with, and it was just we just like each other's company, and we like to give each other a hard time too, which is kind of part of the fun. People can hear it. We poke at each other, and I play the straight man in the show.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for me because I'm usually not the straight man. Like I'm usually the but yeah, so Scott gets to have that fun. And now since I've been asked to do a radio show that we do it plays in LA, Palm Springs, and Salt Lake City by an author, a true crime author named Alan R. Warren. And he has me on his show where I can be the wacko guy. And we have a pretty great show that, I do once or twice a week out of 5 shows. So, yeah, It's awesome. Yeah.
When you got started, did you think that you were going to like help people through this process, or was it just for fun? Or
Well, I told myself I was going to help people, right? Like I was like, hey, I'll help people. I'll be that guy. But at the same time, it's just like, no, I really want to do this. I just really wanted to do it. I just felt driven to do it. And I have never felt driven to do much other than get myself wasted for most of my life. So
it can be a really strong drive.
yeah, it definitely is. But yeah, so we started on Halloween. I was adopted on Halloween, so I wanted to have an auspicious kind of date around it. Plus, it's a little dark, so Halloween's perfect. Halloween 2018, and here we are.
That's incredible.
2000. Oh my gosh, 2017.
No, 2000. Is it 2017 you started?
Yeah, because we just passed 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That's right. And you had your 100th episode of the Pod Fair, which was like, what are the odds of that turned out that way?
Yeah, that's my life, though, now. It's like every time I think that, oh, well, I don't know what's going on. Like, we've done all these episodes. But it's like, and then they say, oh, do you want to do this at this show? And I work out the dates, and it's like, that's going to be our 100th episode. That's so crazy.
That's so
cool.
Awesome. Actually, that's kind of what we did because I too have been creative and done crazy stuff in my career and opened up a skateboard park, BC's largest. Yeah, that was like going to be like all over Canada, the United States of America is going to be like flying a private jet. It failed after a year. But lots of other great things.
Yeah.
But, always raising my children to do what they want to do, follow their passion.
Yeah.
Because I really believe that's where you'll find they're happy. And both my kids are doing that. One is traveling. He's in Iceland right now. We had him as
That's
a guest,
amazing.
and just so proud of him for just, having the trust, not knowing what's going to happen next, but learning from his mama, right? And so then I'm like, oh, I'm telling them all this. I guess I better start doing it. And then she calls. And same thing, it's amazing when you can get together with another person, how much better it is, because this is a crazy place to live.
Oh my God, it's a bad neighborhood.
It
Yeah.
is so
I get
scary.
They're pointing
mugged.
at their heads, by the way.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah.
Every time I go in there, I get mugged and someone steals my milk money. I can't go alone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what we have found here. It's like when she's down, I'm up. When you're down, I'm up. And if we're both down, we're going to be in trouble. It hasn't happened yet, thank God. But yeah, it's been a joy. So I can definitely see that. That's why I love listening to the two of you. Is you have that awesome energy. It's inspiring.
Yeah, it's fun. We're having a good time. We just passed like 6 million downloads. So
wow.
I'm just like, what the heck?
That's insane.
It is insane.
We did talk a lot about what life was like and your addiction and kind of the dark stuff, but let's talk about today. What's life like for you today?
Oh my goodness. Well, I got a tattoo.
Nice.
I got a lobster tattoo, and the reason I got a lobster is because I'm from Nova Scotia, and so my right arm is my right coast, and my left arm is my left coast because I came coast to coast. So I'm gonna probably get a salmon or something on my.
That's a good
Left
one.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so like 50. I turned 50 this year, and I got a tattoo.
50 Club too. See, it's so unusual when you get. I'm so excited because you sober at the same age as me.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of us that sober that young that's still around. Like not very many at all.
My wife, who I've been married to for 21 years in a row,
Wow.
Wow.
evenings and weekends.
You're kidding.
No. She is sober 29 years, and she sobered up when she was 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
So 29 and are you 13 step?
I was 11 months sober.
Oh,
when-
okay. Well, she made just the cuff. Yeah, I am. I'm proud to say
Get
that
him
I
before
definitely
God
am.
does. Yeah.
He got me. Yeah, he got me before anybody got me. That's for sure. And it's been the same long term. I always tell people it's the longest one night stand I've ever had, and I'm very proud of it. So
Yeah, she's also somebody who understands that stuff, and I am so grateful to have Carol in my life that we can grow together. It's been an amazing journy, that's for sure.
do you have children?
No,
Oh,
on purpose.
on purpose.
Oh, so on purpose. Both of us, we looked at each other. We're way too selfish to have kids.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, the cats, we'll feed them, but kids would have been, you bug me, go away.
I actually, now knowing the way the world is and what I've gone through in life, I love my children. I would
Yeah.
not. I love children. Please don't take this the wrong way, but I would not have children. Do things. I don't have any regrets, but I'm like, yeah, just because, just the panic of them living outside of my skin, my heart's out there, and it's just like, all the dangers that happen, and I'm just like, oh, it brings so much anxiety.
Sometimes I think, who's going to take care of me when I'm old? But it's like, I won't know anyway because I'll be crazy.
That's awesome. Is there anything that you think has helped you continue in sobriety? Because I know, that's a long time, 27 years.
What are your rituals? I want to know your rituals. What are your sobriety rituals?
Well, wake up in the morning, ask for help, do a bit of meditation, say thanks at night, go to a few meetings a week. Keep it simple. Talk to my friends who understand, people who are like me. Just like I say, just keep it super simple. And that has been the story. I've always had a home group. I've often held positions in my home group, something to keep me going there. Especially in rough times, it's really good to have a job in a home group because I don't want to go to that stupid meeting. But if I don't, I'm the only one who has the key and nobody can get in. Stuff like that. But yeah, just simple. Yeah.
I love simple.
Yeah, simple is way better.
What is that?
Well, it was much more complex before.
Yeah.
But it's weird as I go along, the path gets narrower, but it's simpler to walk on.
Right.
Funnily enough.
But what about marriage? How do you stay married so long? I'm in my second year of marriage now, so 20.
We have our own lives. That's something my parents told me. It taught me. They've been married for 52 years, and coming up on 53.
Wow.
And they have their own interests, their own things that they do. They don't get in each other's faces about stuff. They have their little. Everybody has little things that will tweak them or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're really, really good friends. We broke up for a while earlier. We got together when it's kind of a weird story, but anyway, I moved in with her the first night I met her.
Oh wow!
See, I was right. I called that.
But that didn't last because when boy meets girl and things are, and you're not in the best recovery space, things tend to go sideways, which they did. And we separated for about a year and a half. But when we got back together, it was because we really liked each other and we missed each other and we just wanted to be in each other's company. And it's been like that since we got back together and then married a year later. So, yeah, just be friends. I listened to a bit of your story.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
My husband.
with your husband. Yeah, yeah, that was an interesting story. And you made him buy you
French fries.
French fries.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I was hot shit.
That's
Watch
pretty
this,
funny.
cousins. I'm gonna get us some free food.
Hey, mister, will you buy me some French fries?
Yeah, definitely. Best friends is so important. And I had a moment of emotion when my son. I talked about this on our season recap, and listening to him and his girlfriend come on and share about their relationship, and that's what they have, like they're best friends. And I'm just like, oh,
Good.
so good, right?
Yeah,
It's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all of that staying overnight stuff goes away real fast.
That's true.
Right? Then what do you have left? Oh, geez. Yeah. So you better be friends.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, now we have to talk
Oh, yeah.
and then share stuff like money. Oh my god. Well.
Yeah.
But yeah, marriage is. I don't know. I just love my wife. I just do. Yeah, we're peas in the pod. We even sort of look alike now, which is kind of weird.
That happens, I think.
I think it does.
Yeah.
Dave and I always laugh because he has a very similar story to you. He was adopted and was definitely the odd.
Was he scooped? Was he?
He was scooped. He was from
Yeah.
the 60s, yeah. So he definitely was the oddball. He was a brown kid with a white family. So.
I knew a lot of those growing up, and I was always like, what the heck is this? What's going on? But now I realize, because I've studied it and I understand it, that is a traumatic thing to have to go through and live with. Has he found his family?
He has found his mother, but not his father. And, she actually lives in the Lower Mainland.
Oh, wow.
And he actually met her. How he met her was he went to get his status card.
Yep.
And he walked into the status downtown, the Native Affairs at the time. And the gal took his name and she's like, oh, I'm your cousin. I play bingo with your mom every Thursday. So it really freaked him out. And but
That's amazing.
Isn't that crazy? Actually, those are some pretty good crime dramas. Maybe you could dig up for Dark Poutine as the indigenous.
Those I struggle with telling those stories because I come from the white background, right? And I don't want to co-opt a story. I don't want to take someone's story when I don't have the right to tell it in a way. So I try to tell things that I have a familiarity with, but that the indigenous culture I don't really. So I've got a friend who's he was scooped as well, and he's exploring his indigenous
culture.
And he's sharing it with me, so I'm kind of getting a sense of it. So I think if I ever approach those stories, I will have somebody who is Indigenous to come and talk to us about it. Because I think it's important for people like me who don't have the experience to hear it from that perspective. Because otherwise you're just getting another white dude's perspective on this, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, do you hear that out there? If you really have a passion and your ears are tingling,
Totally.
give Mike a call.
absolutely, 100%. Dark Poutine Podcast at gmail.com.
And there you go.
And I am more than willing, or just come to darkpoutine.com. There's a phone number there. So
Awesome. Yay.
Right on. Well, I wish we could talk for
I
like
know.
the whole evening, but our time's running up. We have a couple rapid fire questions we want to end with, if that's cool with you.
Nope, it's not cool.
Oh, that was the only question I had. So.
Wow, that was
I want to hear these too. These
that
are
was
good.
rapid.
Oh, before you say that, when you were a teenager, did you have long hair or short hair?
I had short hair because my parents would not let me have long hair. But I have had long hair since yeah.
Okay. Rocker?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I just had to get my image in here. Okay, go. Anyway.
All right. What would be your theme song?
What would be my theme song? I don't know why, but Amish Paradise popped into my head by Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
That's amazing. That's like my brother's favorite song. He'd play it on repeat all the time. He knows every word.
My wife loves that song. Maybe that's why. But I'm a big Nirvana fan, though. So Lithium is my favorite
Oh, nice.
Nirvana song. So I think that would really be my theme song. It's Lithium.
Awesome. What movie could you watch over and over?
I do, and it's called Goodfellas.
Nice.
Over and over and over again.
Oh my gosh, that is the greatest
Also
movie.
Jaws.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that gave me like my first panic attack ever.
What's your favorite scene of Goodfellas?
My favorite scene of Goodfellas is actually when Ray Liotta finds out that his Karen, who ends up being his wife, her neighbor has been violent with her. And he
Walks over?
walks across the street
Yes.
and doesn't really say a word and just pistol whips the guy within an inch of his life. And it's
Love that
like,
scene.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling very, very well. It gives me chills talking about it. And the way it was shot and the way Ray Liotta plays that is just so scary and so real. Just so real.
Such a good scene. I figured it was either that one or the one when they were in the back of the trunk when little Joe Pesky started stabbing the guy.
Look, I got a hoof.
Anyways, sorry, this is supposed to be rapid fire. I can't stop.
I
Poor
know.
Billy Bats.
I don't think we've done a session of these that have actually gone rapidly.
But I think you're supposed to talk about stuff as
Yeah.
it comes up.
Yeah.
For sure. What about something on your bucket list?
Something on my bucket list. Actually, my friends just did it. They went to Egypt. Yeah, so I would love to go and see the pyramids and the Valley of the Kings and all the artifacts that are there. That would be so amazing.
That would be amazing. Have you traveled anywhere?
Paris.
Paris, yeah.
Yeah, Paris when I was 16. That's a whole other story.
I was going to say 16 you were using then.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I'd like to hear the story
Well,
of that. We're having them back, okay?
I'll tell a little bit of just
Okay,
like a brief
good.
one. They had a pop machine that had beer in it right outside our.
A pop machine with beer?
Yep. Oh man. So we took all the beer out of the pop machine, just loading French francs into the pop machine.
Oh,
until
yeah,
the
you
beer
did.
was gone.
Oh, that's
Pop machine is brilliant.
Yep.
okay. What is your favorite emoji?
Poop.
The poop. Oh, that's funny.
Hey, I don't even have to get into that. My wife and I send the poop emoji back and forth to each other, or turkey.
Maybe a spin-off you can do Dark Poutine.
Yeah.
That's good. See, she's so creative.
Yeah.
Dark Poutine. Yeah, I like it.
That'll be the Weird Al version.
Exactly.
All right. And something you still need to let go of.
Oh my God. Negative self-talk. Oh, shut up already. It's
That
like,
neighborhood is just so.
yep.
dangerous.
A friend of mine who has a podcast, her name is Kate. She does a podcast called Ignorance Was Bliss. And I was on her podcast, but in her group, the Ignorance Was Bliss Asylum, they call bad thoughts the brain weasels. So when you have the brain weasels, that's a great, very descriptive thing. My other friend Donnie used to call it blender head.
Oh, I like that.
All his thoughts were in a blender.
Yeah, I always think squirrel.
Yeah.
I feel like there's the podcast that we do, and then there's like this whole other commentary that happens in my head the whole time. We're like,
Do you guys judge yourself?
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah. Yes.
every word that comes out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
I'm laughing too much. A little bit about.
A little bit about.
When I'm editing, I'm like, can you stop saying that?
And then awesome, so incredible.
If I say the words so one more time, I think so this happened. I hate it.
Honestly, I don't think I notice in any other podcast I listen to, but I bet everyone has their thing.
Everybody has their
Yeah.
thing. I just cut mine out.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. That's what we need to see. We've been trying to not say. So tell us about.
A little bit about.
There's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with it, but it was like every second sentence.
It just becomes a cliche.
Yeah.
Like that's gonna be our catchphrase.
Tell me a little bit about.
Yeah. So we started every sentence like that in the beginning. But
Well, we did that one podcast that they had a cutout. I think you had a cutout penis quite a few times.
yeah, I did.
That was
Oh, Lorena Bobbitt
Cutting up penis.
cutting out
It
penis.
was just that was. I followed that too. I mean,
That was
she was just on
horrendous.
2020. They had the now. Like I like it when all of those old crimes that happened are coming up now, like
Yeah.
20, 30 years later, and I get all excited. I'm like, it's been 30 years. Then I realize how old I am. And I'm
There
like,
was an Amazon Prime documentary about her,
Yeah.
and they paint her like she's a hero for cutting this guy's wee off.
I know.
Which is just like, what the heck is that about? Like, okay, yeah, she did that, and he was not a nice guy, but guess what? Don't cut those things off. Yeah. Men tend to like those things.
They're kind of useful for the procreation
Well,
of the.
That's true.
there's also other uses for it.
But with all fairness, he does have use of it, from my understanding now. So
Yeah, he had surgery. He actually became a porn star.
He was a porn star.
I know. So it's not going to be a good thing. Everything bad, good comes of it, right?
Oh, we just want to thank you so much for coming down and sharing your story with us, Mike. That was absolutely incredible. And why don't you tell our listeners, you mentioned it a couple of times, but one more time where everyone can come and find you and connect
you
with
can
you.
find us at darkpoutine.com or on our Facebook group. It's called The Yumber Yard. And it's because I mispronounced the word lumber when I was trying to say lumberyard in episode 12. And for some reason it just stuck, and that's what the Facebook group is called. So
Love it.
yes. And on Twitter, Instagram, all those kind of things. Just search for Dark Poutine. You'll find us.
Right on. And I definitely suggest you guys go take a listen to the podcast. It is so good. It's all Canadian true crime comedy. Well, mostly Canadian.
It's better in the episodes, say, let's say around 10, 12. They start to get better. The first few episodes are so rough, I have a hard time to listen to them. I put a disclaimer at the beginning of them saying, if you want to listen, go ahead. But I had a really crappy comment about our second episode yesterday. And so I thought, well, I just need to delete that episode. Or just recut it or something. I don't know.
No.
It is
I like it. You get to see how far you've come and the journey. And that's like what social media is all about that now, like just getting authentic and showing behind the scenes and being messy and then showing how you guys can grow. And
Yeah.
I'm writing a book now.
that's insane.
HarperCollins Canada contacted me and said, would you like to write a book for us? And I was like, okay.
Wow.
So that's what I'm doing now. That's between writing podcasts. Now I'm writing a book as well. So
Wow.
who knows what?
It's like everything from your journey is being used.
100%.
Like and some, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's exciting. Oh, you've just inspired us.
At least I did something right.
There you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming.
so much. I
Thank
had
you.
so much fun. My belly hurts. I'm giggling. I'm giggling so much
Good.
inside. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. We are thrilled to have you as a part of this community, and we are really trying to grow and reach more people. So there's a lot of ways you can get involved. One is going to our website. There's some really great resources there.
Yes. And the most exciting part is checking out those GIFs. Or what do you call them?
GIFs. I call them GIFs. You call them GIFs, whatever. Tomato, tomato.
So when you're actually enjoying your sober life and you're going and you're posting on your Instagram, please just go to Seek Purpose and check them all out and tag us.
Yeah.
I want to see what you guys are doing out there in sober life.
Yeah, we also have filters actually we've been putting out as well. There's so much you can do through social media with Seek Purpose, like, comment, share all of our posts, really get involved with this community. There's so much help out there for you and so much connection here we've been finding.
Yeah, and the one thing that we have learned in recovery is asking for help. So we're going to ask for help and just become a patron and come help be a part of this community and help it grow. And we'd love to have you.
If you want to become a patron, we have a link on our website that you can click, and there's some really cool perks of becoming a patron with Seek Purpose. So we hope you check that out. And obviously, if you review this podcast on whatever podcasting app you're listening to, it's going to help us reach more ears and get that message out of recovery.
Mm-hmm. Stay tuned. We have so much more in store. And as our little community grows, our collective, there's exciting things that are happening that are coming out that we can't wait for you to be involved with. So stay tuned and stay connected.